Okay. What's up, folks? Give me a second. It's the 51st podcast episode. You guys should be well acquainted to my openings of Take Cigarettes Out, Light Cigarette. Oh, God. What? You have one new item in your inventory. Okay. Now okay, that's not one new item, that's two. Stalking Wolf and William Mackenzie from the Long Dark. Okay. Why am I getting trading cards for the Long Dark? I haven't played the Long Dark in like a week. I don't know. Fuck if I know. Oh well. Ay, ay, ay. All right. What to talk about? What to fucking talk about? I don't know. I didn't work today. Uh, and I didn't go to work today because I was pissed. I woke up at 3. Oh God, let me check my phone. Because I actually sent a text out to somebody telling them, hey, yeah. I woke up like 4 in the morning to a real shit dream. And the dream was so real, and the topic of the dream was so infuriating that I woke up pissed. As if it had, like, because it ended, like, the dream ended where like an argument would end. And it ended with me just walking away from that argument. So when I woke up, it felt like I had just, like, entered another room. Or I had just gotten off a fucking phone call. And so I just looked at the time, saw it was 4 in the morning. My first alarm didn't even go off, and I was like, I'm not going to work today. I am not in a good mood today. I'm going to be in such a cantankerous fucking mood that I'm not going to be able to just handle it. So I just turned off both alarms and went to sleep. And I woke up at fucking like 1 in the afternoon, and I was still pissed off, and I just worked out to just try and like alleviate it. Also, hey, Stan. How are you doing? Oh, I know what I can talk about. Because it's Wednesday now, so the new episode of Game of Thrones has had well, technically this Sunday's episode has been on for like a week or so now, because it got leaked in Spain by HBO by accident, and one of the guys, somebody saw it and saw that it was streaming, so he streamed it on Instagram, and I guess his account got taken down because of it, so he went onto YouTube Live and streamed it, and other people noticed about it, so they torrented it. So it's been floating around for a week or so, but for people who, like, honest, decent people, I am not one of them, who saw it Sunday, and I watched it Sunday night because fuck it. You've had 3 days to digest it. So if anybody who's not seen Game of Thrones season 7 episode, I think it's 6. I think it's episode 6 is the one that just aired. Let me check. Yeah, if you haven't seen episode 6 of Game of Thrones, just fucking leave. Leave, go watch it. it's good for the most part. All right, now that that's out of the way, Game of Thrones is becoming a Dungeons and Dragons game. I'm sorry, Game of Thrones purists, but it's becoming it's becoming a fucking Dungeons and Dragons session. Like it's going beat for beat for what I've had to deal with and what I've gone through and what I've played in Dungeons and Dragons. Allow me to explain. So, oh god, I think it was season 5. Season 5 is, I think, when John. Spoilers for people who haven't seen season 5, which was like 2 years ago. Spoilers. John, I believe season 5 is when Jon Snow got stabbed. Ooh. Jon Snow was head of the Night's Watch, and he got stabbed by the members of the Watch who did not agree with him allying with the wildlings, which are basically barbarians across the wall. And he brought them over from the wall, and he's like, "Hey, we need men to bolster the Night's Watch because we have like 13. I think there's 13 castles spread out along this fucking massive 300, 400 foot tall fucking ice wall, and we are woefully outnumbered by the wildlings and woefully outnumbered by the army of the dead led by the White Walkers. So I'm going to do the logical thing. We're all living beings. There's an army of undead coming, and they want to kill all the living and turn them undead. So I'm going to bring them in so they can bolster and help defend the rest of, the 7 kingdoms." And the Night's Watch is like, "Nah, fuck that shit." So they stab him. Season 6 opens up with basically a political struggle and an ideological struggle where Davos Seaworth and the loyalists that were of the Night's Watch that were loyal to Jon Snow are held up in the room where they have his corpse, while the rest of the Night's Watch are going to try and basically kick down the door and kill them. And Melisandre resurrects Jon Snow, because at the end of the episode, Jon Snow wakes up. He's brought back from the dead. Wasn't really like, I'll say it right now. I knew from the get that Jon Snow was not going to die. He got stabbed, he died, but I knew he was going to be brought back, because Game of Thrones is just kind of predictable. I hate saying it, but it's kind of predictable. So Jon gets resurrected. The Night's Watch finds out about this. They freak out. Jon captures the people that stabbed him, and he hangs them because they killed him. And it's against the fucking laws of the Watch. If I remember correctly, it's against the laws of the Watch to kill one of your brothers in black. So he kills him. Justifiably so, and rightfully so. And since his watch has ended, he's technically died. He's broken the loop. He's gotten a loophole. He found a loophole. Die and then be resurrected. You've served your term in the Night's Watch. So he leaves, and he goes and he reclaims Winterfell from the Boltons in the Battle of the Bastards, which is just a badass name for a battle, because Ramsay Bolton is a bastard as well that was able to gain his father's house's title or surname, Bolton, because he was originally Snow, Ramsay Snow, because in the North, if you're a bastard, your last name is automatically Snow, so people know that you're a bastard. So Jon led an army of wildlings and people loyal to House Stark in the Battle of the Bastards. They win. They take Winterfell, and he becomes king in the North, because he is the last male Stark that people think is alive, because his brothers are considered dead. Okay. Jon immediately decides, hey, I'm going to just fuck off from Winterfell for well, here I'm going. This kind of goes into the whole problem with season 7. because in season 7, he just decides to fuck off to go to Daenerys Targaryen because she's in Dragonstone now, and she sent him a raven telling him to bend the knee because she's the rightful heir to the throne. Spoilers, she isn't. But basically, he does it. He decides to go. So Jon just fucks off for, I think it's like 4 weeks or 3 weeks, from what Sansa said last episode. He's been gone for weeks, and he entrusts Sansa, his sister, his half sister, to control Winterfell for him. She becomes Lady of Winterfell in his stead, and he goes to Daenerys for two reasons technically. Two reasons. One is him and the Maester of Winterfell. I believe it's the Maester. They discover that underneath the keep of Dragonstone is a giant fucking vein of dragonglass or obsidian. And dragonglass in Westeros is able to kill White Walkers. It's just a magical ore. And there's a giant vein of it, well worth its weight in gold, and just massive enough to arm all the army of the North against the White Walkers, so that normal men will be able to kill them. Because if you hit White Walkers with normal steel weapons, your weapon freezes, the steel freezes and then just shatters, because they're magical evil monsters. So he goes there to do that, and he also does it because she has 3 living dragons, and fire is really good against White Walkers and the undead. So he goes there to try and barter an alliance with her and go, hey, Daenerys, you got 3 dragons. You got a lot of dragonglass underneath your castle. Let me mine this dragonglass to make weapons for my people and help me kill those undead, and then we can deal with the whole bend the knee and fucking like me serving under you, possibly, maybe, I don't know. And then you can deal with Cersei and reclaiming the Iron Throne. Because kind of pointless to rule over a kingdom when, you know, it's being assailed by hundreds of thousands of undead. And when he goes, Daenerys is just like, nah, I don't believe you. Also, you're not king in the North, because if you are king of the North, then you're my enemy, because you should be bending the knee. Because the last time there was a king in the North was before my ancestor came and conquered all 7 kingdoms. And so she keeps Jon technically hostage with Davos and the rest of his bannermen that followed him, to basically his entourage / bodyguards. And Davos kind of lets loose a secret that Jon's apparently against telling her, which is annoying, in that he was stabbed to death and brought back from the fucking dead. Davos is standing there with Jon talking to Daenerys, and he's he's a leader among men. He does not want to be king of the North. His people chose him to be king of the North. He took a knife to the heart, and before he can finish saying that he died and came back to life, Jon immediately just looks at him like, shut the fuck up about that. And when I saw that scene, I'm like, no, Jon, tell her that you died and came back to life. Because then she's going to be like, wait, what? And then you can tell them, like, yeah, Melisandre, the bitch that just left Dragonstone, that was talking to you saying Jon Snow is like this important figure that you should talk to. You'll get some leeway with Daenerys, because now Daenerys is going to realize, hey, maybe there's some credence. Maybe that's why Melisandre was dropping these vague fucking prophetic hints foreshadowing later events in the season. But no, she doesn't. She's like, well, you're hostages technically until you bend the knee. And so fucking Tyrion, who's been trying to be a nice guy this whole time with Daenerys and Jon, goes, hey, the obsidian is nothing. It's penniless. There's no point to it. You can't make a profit off of it. There's no point to it. send ship it back to the north, and if you do that, he'll probably bend the knee. And she's like, fine, I'll do it. So he starts mining it, and fucking he's all happy because he can finally do what he came to do, and he starts shipping it to the north. And Daenerys just keeps fucking hounding him, being like, "Oh, you gonna bend the knee?" And he's like, "I'm thinking about it. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know yet." And then he finds cave paintings inside the cavern where this dragon glass is. And the cave painting literally shows the children of the forest, which are George R.R. Martin's, I guess, analog or version of elves, and the first men to come to Westeros, and the ones that were fighting against the children of the forest, working together, mining dragon glass and using it to combat the army of the dead. And so Daenerys is kind of starting to realize, like, oh, maybe there's something to what Jon's talking about. And so Daenerys finally, for some fucking reason, decides, hey, I want a ceasefire with Cersei until this whole thing, like this whole army of the dead shit's solved. And when I first saw it, I was like, okay, so I guess she believes him now because she saw the cave painting on the wall. So I guess everything's all hunky-dory now. But no. Jon decides, how can I prove to Cersei that the army of the dead exists? Now this is where Game of Thrones starts becoming more like a D&D session. Because now the characters are acting like what D&D characters would do in this situation. Well, Jon's like, how do I convince the evil queen to have a ceasefire with this other kingdom or this other fucking claimant to the throne? How do I convince both of them that the evil big bad of the campaign is about to wipe out all life on the continent? I know, me and my plucky rogue group of misfits and adventurers are going to go across the wall and capture a white. We're not going to capture a white walker. That'd be too difficult. We'll just capture a zombie. And then we'll take this zombie, put it on a boat with us, go to this evil queen, and show her that a zombie is real, that zombies exist. And with this, maybe we can convince this evil queen that, yeah, we're not fucking her over and shit. So Daenerys is like, you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. Don't do that. Like, you're just gonna kill yourselves. If this threat really is as big as you say it is, you are going to die. And Jon's like, yep, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And so Daenerys starts bitching and calling him an idiot, essentially. And then Jorah Mormont comes with him, the guy that's been creeping on Daenerys since season fucking 1, even though he's been friend-zoned consistently throughout the series. Give me a second. And so, yeah, Jorah Mormont's like, yeah, I'm going to go with him, just in case. And Davos Seaworth, a.k.a. the Onion Knight, goes. And the rest of Jon's bannermen go with him. They get onto a boat, and they decide, fuck telling the rest of fuck telling my kingdom what I'm doing, so that they kind of know, like, hey, I've not been killed by Daenerys, and it wasn't a trap like everybody kept claiming it was before I left. I'm just gonna fucking go all the way up to the wall, and then we're gonna just cross the wall and deal with things. And before that, Davos, being the old wise mentor Obi-Wan figure, goes, hey, I gotta do something real quick, because to set up this whole plot, we need to talk to Cersei and try and get her to come to this understanding. And so Tyrion, who is Cersei's brother, decides, I'm gonna have Davos bring me to the Red Keep. He's gonna smuggle me in, and I'll talk to Jaime, our brother, and Jaime will be able to talk to her. And so when Tyrion succeeds in doing this, he's able to talk Jaime into talking to him about it. Davos goes to the blacksmithing craftsman section of the city, and he stumbles upon Gendry. Now, Gendry is Robert Baratheon's bastard, which means he's technically heir to the throne because his father usurped the throne from Daenerys' family. And Gendry got shipped off on a fucking boat at like the end of season 3 or 4 and just told, keep rowing. And we haven't heard from him for like 3-4 seasons now. Yeah, he's just back where he was, being a blacksmith and a really badass one at that. And Davos is like, oh, come with me. We need another adventurer in our group. And so Gendry grabs his warhammer that he crafted by hand and all this shit. And he's like, I'm fucking going. So Davos introduces him. And for some reason, Davos doesn't want Gendry telling him, Jon Snow, that he's the bastard son of Robert Baratheon. For some reason, I don't know. But Gendry's like, no, fuck it. I'm going to tell him. So he's just like, hi, I'm Gendry. I'm Robert Baratheon's bastard. I'm technically the rightful heir to the throne, and I just don't give a fuck about the throne. I don't want to rule. You and your father my father and your father used to be real good friends. And they just hit it off. So Gendry goes with them up to the wall. So now we have Jon Snow, the ranger of the group, both in name and in title, because he was a ranger of the Night's Watch. Davos Seaworth, the plucky old grumpy man / rogue. Jorah Mormont, the upstanding with kind of a grim past knight. And then we have the blacksmith / fighter Gendry heading to the wall to capture a zombie. Like this is something straight out of a fucking D&D session where the players just don't know how to solve the problem, so they're like, well, fuck it, we'll make our own idea. We'll make our own solution to this all. Once they get to the wall, they meet up with the Lord Commander, which is Jon's friend, who he just handed him the fucking keys to the keep, and was like, you're in charge now. They're like, oh, you guys are going across the wall? Well, we got a group of adventurers that are locked up right now. So now we have 2 D&D parties colliding together. We've got Jon, Davos, Jorah, and Gendry just, fucking meeting up with the fucking head of the keep that they go to. And one of the leaders is a wildling. Oh, God, I forget his name. Fuck. Give me a second. I gotta find his name because he's the barbarian of the party. Oh my God. Tormund Giantsbane. If that itself is not a D&D name, I don't know what is. But Tormund is one of the heads of keeping the castle defended and occupied. And so Tormund leads them to the cells, and there we find the Brotherhood Without Banners. Basically bandits now. One of them is a drunk wizard / priest that has brought back one of the members to life, I believe, 7 times. I gotta grab his name because I can't remember his name because they don't really talk about his fucking name. Beric. Beric is the guy. Beric has died 6 or 7 times, and it's Thoros who has brought him back. He's like a priest for the Lord of Light. And Thoros is a drunk. Beric is this grizzled fucking badass knight with a fucking eye patch because he lost his eye in one of his deaths. You have the rest of their red shirt companions, and then you have the Hound, which is he's also a knight who has a massive burn scar on the right side of his face because his brother, the Mountain, decided to just push him into a fucking fire when they were kids because I think he played with one of his toys. and he's just an asshole, but he's like an asshole with a heart of gold, kind of. Not really. It's kind of muddy, but they're all sitting in the cells because Tjormund and the rest of the Night's Watch were like, "No, we're not going to let you go past the wall." And so Beric, who's a devout follower of the Lord of Light, is like, "This is a sign. This is a sign. We're gonna join up with you to help capture this zombie." So now we got a paladin, a cleric, and another fighter joining the party with a barbarian. So they all decide, fuck it, we're all going to the wall, we're going beyond the wall. So they go beyond the wall, and again, and that's how one of the episodes ends. Very next episode, and I think it was this episode that just aired, they're just walking around talking. We get character development between all the party, just like you do in Dungeons and Dragons when you're just walking. Because what DMs should be doing in game, I do it, but I don't really see a lot of DMs doing this. It's usually players that want to do this. Is they want interactions with their characters. They want to role play, and so the best time for role playing is downtime. And downtime usually consists of doing a watch, like a night's watch, when you set up camp, hanging out at bars or taverns or inns, traveling from point A to point B, and camping, etc. When you're not fighting or going through a dungeon where like you have to focus on the objective at hand, the rest of that time is downtime. So that's usually when players are able to actually role play. And so basically that's what they're doing. It's downtime. They're just walking through a snowy fucking landscape trying to find zombies. And so we get some character development. And John talks to Jorah Mormont because his father, Jorah's father, was Lord Commander of the Night's Watch before he was killed by his men. And Jorah's father gave Jon Snow a Valyrian steel, picture mithril. Basically, it's like a mithril fucking sword called Longclaw, and he changed the pommel at the end of the sword from a bear to a wolf. And so Jon hands it to Jorah, and he's like, "Technically, this is yours by birthright. This ain't mine." And Jorah's like, "No, he gave it to you. It means something. I surrendered the right to have that sword because Jorah sold slaves, and slavery is illegal in the North. So he was going to be sent to the Night's Watch. He said, fuck this, and he fled the continent to Essos. So he's like, I surrendered that right when I fled. So it's yours. Keep it." And then a blizzard hits. Random encounter time. They see an undead bear, and it starts fucking their shit up. And what does Beric and Thoros, the two, like, religious nuts, do? Oh, they just magically turn their swords into flaming swords. Because the Lord of Light is all about fire. So now we have these, and plus we also have Jon Snow, who has a fucking magical ancestral sword. Basically a +1 longsword. Two flaming swords. And then everybody else is equipped with dragon glass. So we have like undead bane daggers and shit. We have D&D weapons. And we're fighting, like, the encounter is just like a D&D encounter where it's like, oh, well, let's see what the encounter is. Oh, it's an undead bear. Roll for initiative. And so Thoros gets mauled. He gets fucked up pretty bad in the fight. They lose a couple guys. And they're able to kill the undead bear. And they just keep going. And they're dragging Thoros with them because he's not dead yet, and they think they can keep him alive. And that's when they come across a roaming band of undead led by a White Walker. And Tjormund decides, either we attack now and capture one of these and somehow escape, or we just sit here and do nothing, and they reconnect with the main army of the dead, and we're fucked. And this whole journey was pointless. So John's like, yeah, let's do it. So they attack. They kill. John kills the White Walker, and immediately, and this is the cool thing about Night Walkers when White Walkers, when they get killed by Valyrian steel or dragon glass, they immediately shatter. And so as soon as he does that, most of the undead die, except for one, because that White Walker was the thing that turned them. So if a White Walker turns, we find out that if a White Walker turns somebody, that person is their thrall. So if you kill them, you kill the undead that are commanded by him. And so this zombie starts screaming and hollering, making a racket. They finally bag its head. They tie it up, and the army of the dead starts coming because they've been alerted that this White Walker was killed and some of their army just died, or they heard the screaming from the undead. And so John takes Gendry's warhammer and tells him, go, just run back to the wall. Just run back to the wall, get a raven out, and tell Daenerys to come here with their dragons to save us. And Gendry's like, all right. So he starts running. The rest of them start running the opposite way. And the army of the dead is right on their heels. And they come across a lake, and it starts to crack. We're getting some D&D tension here, because now we got some natural environment hazards. Possible thin ice. And Jorah's like, we can't go this way. The ice is too thin. And when they start seeing like 1,000 undead on like probably 100 yards away, they're like, fuck it, we'll take our chances. So they start running across the ice, and it's cracking everywhere. And the army of the undead just without caution, just caution to the wind, just run across that ice because they don't care, they're dead. And it starts to break fucking finally, and buckles under, and it just. Now this is one of the gripes. For some reason, this icy lake, the ice on this lake, just so happens to break evenly in a circle around the island, like this rocky outcropping that like John and the rest of his party managed to get to. Oh, the ice just breaks probably 20 feet away from it in a almost perfect circle, and it's deep enough, and the cracks that formed when it caved in are wide enough to where the army of the dead just don't jump over the fucking gap and just keep running. They just keep running into the fucking ice and just sinking. Because I guess whites can't swim. Okay. And so John and the rest of the men have their prize. They have their undead captured. They captured a zombie. Now they're surrounded by thousands upon thousands of undead. And so now they wait. And they try to stay up as long as they can. And we don't know how long they're standing there. Because for some reason, and it's been explained multiple times, the area or region that John first says that the White Walkers and the undead are is near Eastwatch, which is I believe the castle they went to go beyond the wall. Because each one of the castles has a gate that you're able to go under the wall and out the other side. So we don't know how far they went. They could have gone to the land of always winter, which is way, way, way fucking far, like 500 miles north of the wall. But the last time we saw the White Walkers, they were like near Eastwatch. Beyond the wall across from Eastwatch, which is where there was a port where the wildlings were trying to get onto boats and fucking flee, which isn't that far from the keep. So we don't know where the fuck they were and how far they were. But there's like an Arrowhead Mountain that the Hound saw in the flames, because he had a prophetic vision when he was looking at a campfire, because that's how worshippers of the Lord of Light can see prophecies and shit. basically a wizard did it. A wizard told them, go to this Arrowhead Mountain. And it's been a long time since I've seen the Land of Always Winter in the series, so I guess the Arrowhead Mountain is where, like, the White Walker's main stronghold is. I don't know. Like I said, never really explained. We don't get a clear geographic definition of how far they are. But Gendry is able to run all the way to the wall in a certain amount of time. He collapses right there at the gate. The Night's Watch thankfully noticed that he was running towards it. They come down from under the gate. They drag him back, and Davos is there. And Gendry tells them, send a raven to Daenerys. Tell her that she needs to come to save Jon. They're surrounded by undead. And so Davos sends the raven, and we don't know how long it took the raven to get there, but seems like it almost instantly got there. And Daenerys fucking is like, I'm going. So she dressed warm for the travel, because she's got a winter jacket, like she's got a very nice posh winter vest on with her like silver fucking chain with dragon head decal on it. Because you know, you're going beyond the wall to fight the army of the dead. You got to dress nice and casual and regal still. So she goes with her 3 dragons. They fly, and then we cut back to Jon and the others, and they look exhausted, like they've been up for days on end without sleep. But with the way that there's editing and the way that they haven't really stated how long it's been, like they could have just been awake for just a whole day. Jorah walks up to Jon and tells him, like, we're gonna freeze to death here. We can't hold out much longer. Thoros, who got mauled by the undead bear, dies from his wounds finally, or from the cold. We don't know which. And so the Hound tries to take his whiskey or his ale and drink it, but Jon takes it away from him and says, we have to burn him. So he dumps it all over him, and then Beric ignites his sword and sets his best friend's corpse aflame. So he doesn't come back as an undead. And then the Hound decides to do something incredibly stupid, which is throw rocks across the lake. So he grabs a rock and he hurls it, and it hits a zombie in the face, and it knocks its jar off, and it just goes right back to standing where it was. And then he decides to throw another stone, and this one just goes just a little too under his mark, and it starts skipping across the lake, and then it just slides to this same zombie's feet, and that zombie looks down and goes, wait a minute, the ice is solid again. And that's when they start marching, almost single file. Like, there's at least 5,000 strong around this fucking ice lake, and they're just coming in like 10 at a time. More than enough for these great ass this party of adventurers to handle. And so they start swarming them. They try to grab the zombie because I guess they know the plan that they're trying to do, which is alert the rest of the world that zombies exist. I don't know. But, like, you got Beric with his flaming sword swinging around. Jorah's got 2 dragon glass daggers, and he's stabby stab. The Hound has Gendry's warhammer. He's swinging that fucking thing around. Tjormun's axe, his, like, barbarian axe, got broken because I believe he hit one of the I think he hit the White Walker, so the edge shattered. So it's basically just chunks of metal on a stick. He's swinging that around, and they're just fighting for their life. And then finally, for some reason, like, I guess the editors or the screenwriters that were working on the episode were like, wait a minute. Why are 5,000 zombies not attacking him all at once? Why do we only have like 10, maybe 20 tops attacking him? Let's just have them all converge finally. And so you see all 5,000 of them finally, like the rest of this fucking army of the dead, finally just start swarming. And Tjormun almost gets killed. He gets the shit beat out of him, and they start. Also, here's something that doesn't make a fucking lick of sense. Apparently, some of the zombies just pop out of the fucking ice. They break out of it, and they grab fucking Tjormun by the legs, and they start trying to drag him in. and Tormund's screaming for his life for somebody to save him, and that's when I believe the Hound, I think it's the Hound that comes in. He starts swinging the fucking Warhammer around and grabs him and pulls him back. The Hound also uses the Warhammer to start smashing the ice so that there's like giant pockets of water so that so some of the undead fall in. Sounds like something a player in D&D would do. But John finally calls a retreat on like a 15-foot long fucking rock island, and he's like, fall back. So they just fall back by like 5 feet. And it looks all grim. You got zombies like behind John, like on this fucking little cliff face to this little rock outcropping on the island. Like there's hundreds of these zombies like climbing up each other trying to get to John. He's got his sword right there. There's a slow-mo scene where Tormund and him bump into each other, and they're both about to hit the other one, but then they realize, oh, okay, you got my back, I got yours. And then the dragons come. And the dragons swoop in, and they're doing exactly what dragons should do, which is fly 100 feet in the air and strafe with fire. And they start melting whole sections of the ice lake, and they're burning up zombies. And Daenerys decides to land hers down right on the fucking outcropping after burning all the zombies there. And I think it's Drogon. I think it's Drogon is the dragon she's flying. Its tail and shit swinging around, knocking zombies out of the way. And so the party starts climbing up on top because it's time to get the fuck out of here. And then we see the Night King. And we had seen the Night King in a few scenes prior where Beric and John were standing there, and Beric was like, let's fucking kill this guy. Like, the big bad evil guy is literally 100 yards across this ice lake. Let's kill him. And the Hound even points out, like, you lost your priest. You can't be resurrected back, so this is your last life. If you die here, you're dead. You're not coming back. And so Beric's just like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to. So we see the Night King, and he's just sitting on his undead horse like a badass, looking all evil and shit. And one of the White Walkers sees the Syrian, one of Daenerys' other dragons, flying around, strafing the fire, and pulls out an ice javelin from the side of his undead horse and hands it to the Night King. Why he couldn't throw it, I don't know. But the Night King throws it, and he automatically fucking hits the dragon. And it bursts into its chest bursts into flames because it was breathing fire, I guess, or because both of them are magical creatures, and so ice cancels fire or something like that. And so it just bursts into flames. And then it starts just drowning the undead with blood. If you see the scene, because it's on YouTube, that's how I got fucking. I already warned for spoilers, Queen. I already warned for spoilers. But it fucking drowns the fucking undead in blood, and then crashes, and everybody's shocked. Everybody's shocked. There's a big scene where everyone's like, oh God, it's dead. And fucking, yeah, one of the dragons just is dead now. Uh-oh. Night King did it. And so John, now this is another gripe I have with Sunday's episode. John becomes a full idiot. Like, John goes full retard again, and he hasn't really gone full retard in a while. The last time he went full retard was in the Battle of the Bastards, where he just charges the enemy by himself because his half-brother got killed, even though it was a trap. And everybody in his army was like, that's a trap. And he's like, fuck it. And so John decides to be the big damn hero and fight the army of the dead so that Daenerys and the rest of the party can fly off. And he's like, take that zombie back to Cersei. I'm going to get some more EXP under my belt. Maybe if I level up, I won't die. and Daenerys like sheds a fucking tear, and Drogon starts flying off because the Night King's like, oh no, you don't. You got 2 more dragons. I'm gonna go for another fucking crit. So he grabs another ice spear. It's never better, always worse. But they see the Night King grabbing this ice spear or ice javelin, and they're like, "Yeah, bye. See you, Jon Snow." And Daenerys like sheds a tear because she wants Jon's D, and they fly off. And Jon gets tackled by an army of the dead, and he falls into a fucking ice hole or a hole in the ice, and he fucking sinks. And when I saw that, I was like, Jon's not dead. Jon's not gonna die. Like, I don't even know why you include him falling into the fucking ice and this whole dramatic scene of him struggling while he's drowning. He's not going to die. You're not going to have him die. It's not going to happen. And sure enough, like the next scene, we see the army of the dead. They're all walking away because the battle's over. And Jon just jumps out of the water. And his sword, he just happens to... So he falls into a hole in the ice, and I guess the screenwriters do not understand what happens when you fall into an icy lake. There's no real way that you're one. It is freezing fucking cold. I've fallen into a fucking a lake that was icy. It's really fucking cold, especially when the ice is like 6 inches thick. You're in an area literally almost, I'm guessing it's in the land of always winter. The fucking title of the region you're in is Land of Always Winter, meaning it's always fucking cold and snowy. So you fall into, we'll say, -5-degree fucking icy waters. Not only are you going to be in excruciating pain and your extremities are going to be hurting, but it's murky-ass water, and you're not going to open your fucking eyes to try and find the hole that you fell through. You're just not going to. It's nigh impossible. It probably is impossible. Then, swimming up to that hole, Jon's just able to find the hole that he fell out of, and his sword is lying right there on top of the ice, just an inch away from the hole. And he just grabs it and he fucking uses it to pry himself back up. The zombies that were on him, they're not there anymore. We don't know what happened. He got tackled by like 2 or 3 zombies. They should have ripped him limb from limb. They don't need to breathe. The cold isn't affecting them at all. They're magically undead. So we don't know how he did not die in the water. And then he climbs out and the zombies notice him. And he's like, oh, fuck. And then we start seeing that he's freezing to death because he's soaking wet. It's nearly nightfall. He's having trouble moving because of how cold he is. And when he sees that the zombies are coming closer towards him, he draws his sword and he's like, well, I guess I'm going to die. And then Benjen Stark, his undead uncle, comes rolling in with a flaming fucking mace on a chain, twirling that shit around. And he's like, take my horse, Jon. And Jon's like, how the fuck did you get here? And Benjen's like, no time to explain or exposit my reasons for being here. Go! And so Jon's like, okay. And Jon just rides the horse back to the wall. And I guess Benjen, a.k.a. his uncle, dies? So, Queen, basically Benjen was the first ranger of the Night's Watch, and he went on a ranging, like beyond the wall, and he was presumed lost. And if I remember correctly, when Bran saw Benjen said that the children of the forest are what brought him back. So I'm guessing they put a piece of dragon glass in his chest. Like, I don't know. Like, he's undead, but he's not a White Walker. It's weird. Also, he answers to the three-eyed raven. Because that's how he saved Bran and Hodor and Mira and stuff. They're like, how did you find us, Uncle Benjen? He's like, the three-eyed raven sent me. And it's like, oh, plot convenience. But yeah, so we because Uncle Benjen is just that badass, I guess. But he didn't survive. He survived for he delayed his demise, Queen, because he died this episode. And so Jon gets back to the wall and he's frozen to death, and Daenerys is sitting there all sad because she's like, I lost that nice dick and I can't have it. And Jorah's like, let's go. And all of a sudden there's a horn, right? Like, this is the most cliched fucking, like, this is a cliche that's been played up so much. Like, the woman who's in love with the main hero thinks that he's dead and she's gonna fucking leave, and then suddenly someone's like, look, beyond yonder, the hero you miss has come back. And so she turns around and there's fucking Jon Snow on a horse, and he just collapses off the horse. So they bring him back in to warm him up, and we get a slow-mo montage of them derobing him, and he's all icy and his clothes are frozen. And then Daenerys slowly walks in the doorway because they have the slow-mo going on, and she sees all of the fucking scars that apparently haven't healed up after his stabbing. Like, a fair amount of time has passed. Like, the scar on the side of his face has healed up. But, like, these giant gaping wounds in his chest from when he was stabbed during his tenure in the Night's Watch haven't healed. And so she sees all these wounds, and she's all shocked. And I guess he's fine because they decide to cart his body onto a fucking ship back to Dragonstone. And Daenerys is sitting there. Another cliche, like the love interest waiting beside the bed of like the injured or near dead person who just miraculously wakes up from their near death experience / coma. And they have like a little tender heart-to-heart moment, and then she's like, no, I don't want the D. Or I'm too awkward to have the D. No, those are when Ollie Thorne and the rest of the Night's Watch stabbed him when they were like, for the watch. And that's when he got resurrected. But yeah, that's how the episode ends. Basically, Daenerys is all spooked out now. And like, she does, like, I was expecting her to call him out being like, you died and came back to life. Like, I saw your wounds. Like, his gaping wounds where he died are still sticking out while she's talking to him. Like, I'm sorry, but if I was in that situation, if I was in that same fucking situation and like this person that I'm in love with was stabbed to death and brought back to life by magic, and they're sitting there with gaping chest wounds, I'd be like, how the fuck are you still alive with those gaping chest wounds? But it's never brought up. And she's like, oh, I'm awkward and shit, so bye. And Jon's all sad because he's got a boner now, and he's like, fuck, I can't get it in. She's blocked the D. She's cock blocked me. I've got a case of blue balls. Also, Queen, Daenerys is so it's already been confirmed that Jon Snow is Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark's son, which would mean that Daenerys is Jon Snow's aunt. So if you're down for some Daenerys Jon Snow marriage, you're into incest. You're down for an aunt marrying her nephew. And yeah, the problem with the season 7 so far is it is incredibly rushed. It is incredibly fucking rushed. And yes, now you know, Queen. Now you know that it has been put in It's text. It's in this chat log. I am down for a Daenerys and Jon Snow marriage. Yeah, Rhaegar Targaryen is Jon Snow's father, and Rhaegar Targaryen is Daenerys' oldest brother. Rhaegar was going to become king after the Mad King died. Yes, the Mad King is Jon Snow's grandfather. Just like Ned Stark is Jon Snow's uncle. That's Ned Stark. Ned's okay. Hang on, because I'm gonna have to explain this to Queen. So Queen, you know how Rhaegar Targaryen kidnapped Lyanna Stark, and that's what set off the whole Robert's Rebellion, and how Lyanna died in the Tower of Love when Ned Stark tried to save her. It was in that flashback that Bran kept going to. Basically, she and in the same I think it was last night's episode or the episode before that. In the episode before that, Samwell Tarly and Gilly found a piece of paper stating that Rhaegar annulled his marriage to Elia Martell. Basically, he annulled the marriage, so they weren't married, and he was married in a secret ceremony in Dorne, and so that means that he was married to Lyanna Stark in Dorne after he annulled his marriage to Elia. Yes, Dany's brother. Dany's brother is Jon's father. Basically, Jon's mother, Lyanna, which is Ned's sister, died in childbirth. Like she was bleeding too much, and there was nothing that the Maesters could do. And so she told Ned to promise to protect Jon because Robert would kill him. Because Robert Baratheon hated the Targaryens and he hated Rhaegar for stealing Lyanna away. So Ned decided to lie to I'll say this, Ned Stark is a fucking hero because he loved his sister so much. He tarnished his name to protect his nephew. Because if Ned took Jon back with the Targaryen name, Robert would have killed Jon. So Ned Stark lied to everyone and said, "This is my bastard son." And that's why Caitlyn... It's technically in the books. They haven't confirmed it in the books yet, but in the show they've confirmed it. R plus L equals J. Rhaegar plus Lyanna equals Jon. It's all but confirmed. Everybody in the fucking book fandom and the show fandom have been fucking talking about this the whole time. Also, if I remember correctly, the only reason why George R.R. Martin allowed them to the writers to do the show is they guessed Jon Snow's parentage. George R.R. Martin sat them down and was like, "Who's Jon Snow's mother and father?" And they were like, "Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark." And he's like, "Oh, you're right." Well, it's a theory for the book, but everybody has it's a theory, but it's pretty much a confirmed theory. Like there's so many things that have not been stated yet. But like the amount of information we've gotten in the book so far is pretty much saying like, yeah, they're his parents. But they stated it in, I think, season 6. I think it was season 6 they confirmed that Jon Snow is the son of Lyanna and Rhaegar. Because it's when Bran's having his little visions where he's time traveling, but not really, and he hears the conversation between his aunt and father, Ned and Lyanna Stark, and so they close up, they do a close up shot of the baby, of Jon Snow as a baby, and then they cut back to Jon sitting there as King of the North, and it's like, oh yeah, that's it. That's their way of being like, yeah, he's you know, he's technically a Targaryen. Well, here's the thing, Queen. Only the only people that know that Jon Snow is not a bastard is Bran. Bran is the only one that knows. Everybody else thinks that Jon is still a bastard. The audience knows he's not a bastard. And so, like, when Bran came to Winterfell, he was like, I need to talk to Jon. I have something that I need to tell him about, and I'm honestly I'm expecting this Sunday's episode, because this Sunday's episode is going to be like twice as long. I think it's going to be like an hour and a half or 2 hours long. It's going, like they've been saying, that it's going to be the longest episode ever in the Game of Thrones series. I honestly think that Jon's going to go back to Winterfell finally, and Bran is going to be like, you come over here, because I now have a wheelchair. I'm like fucking Professor Xavier from the X-Men. Come with me to the fucking the fucking, oh god, I forget the name of the trees. A heart tree? Oh fuck me, I forget the name of it. Weirwood. That's it. Come with me to the Weirwood tree in Winterfell. I have something to show you. And then they're going to have Jon Snow go with them and go, okay. And then Bran's going to hold on to his hand or something, and then he's going to touch the Weirwood tree, and they're going to go back in time, and he's going to show Jon, like, you are a Stark, but you're technically a Targaryen. Why now? Here's a big gripe I have with Bran. One, why has Bran not shown this? Why has Bran not done this to Sansa and Arya? Why hasn't he shown them that Jon isn't a bastard and that he's actually Rhaegar Targaryen's son? Why doesn't he show them this? Because once Bran does, like, think about it. Think about this. I'll set you up with the perfect analogy. Say you know something. Say you know, like, for instance, say your cousin. Say you are the only person in your family that knows that your cousin or your brother or sister is actually your aunt and uncle's fucking child. Like, your aunt and uncle died in like a car crash, and fucking you have a brother and stuff. And your father died, and only your father knew, and he was like, "Oh, hey, like, I cheated on you, wife. I'm sorry, but here's our son." And so, like, you find out that your brother is not really your brother, he's your cousin. And then you go up to your cousin and tell him. So now you and your cousin know. How are you so you and your cousin know that, like, your cousins, not brother and sister. Okay. What about the rest of the world? The rest of the world's going to be like, do you have proof? Do you have proof that he's not your brother? And it's like, oh no, we touched this weird fucking white tree in the middle of a castle. And I had a vision where we go back in time to when I saw my father killing Sir Arthur Dayne during the fucking Robert's Rebellion. That's how we know that he's not a Stark. Do you know how insane Bran's gonna look when like him and Jon Snow are like that? Like, what happens when Jon walks up to his bannerman and he's like, I'm a Targaryen. Like, what happens when he walks up to fucking Daenerys and he's like, I'm a Targaryen. You're my aunt. Like, what happens if she kisses him? And he's like, well, we can't be kissing. And she's like, why not? I love you. And he's like, you're my aunt. She's going to be like, the fuck are you on about? And he's like, my crippled cousin in a wheelchair brought me to a fucking tree, and we touched the tree and we had a vision of the past. What? 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 That's how Daenerys should react. What? Your brother in a wheelchair brought you to a tree. Yep, that's right. Okay. And then you touched the tree. Yeah. And you went back in time and saw that you were my brother's son? Yep. Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing, though. Like, Bran should be showing everyone. He shouldn't just be showing it to Jon. Because what's Jon going to do with the information? He doesn't, like, Jon has never wanted power. Like, that's the difference between him and everybody else. He didn't want to become Lord Commander. That position was thrusted upon him, and he had to take the position. Like, he didn't want to become he didn't want to become King in the North. His bannermen claimed him as King in the North. He only wanted to take Winterfell so that he could get the Boltons the fuck out of Winterfell because of what they were doing and what they did to his family. Like, if he's given, like, if Bran tells him, like, you actually are the heir to the throne, to the Iron Throne, Jon's gonna be like, I don't want to know. Why the fuck are you telling me this? Because Jon's not gonna want to become king of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, Jon's already having fucking problems not, like, ruling fucking Winterfell, for God's sakes. Jon is cousins to Bran, Sansa, Arya, Robb, Rickon. And I could have sworn there was another Stark. But I think that's all the Starks. Basically, Arya and Sansa and Bran are Jon's cousins. Because their aunt is his mother. And so, by blood, he is a Targaryen first and a Stark second. Also, the fan theory right now is that he is the prince that was promised because Rhaegar, Jon's father and Daenerys' brother, like, he was all about that prophecy. It's why he hooked up with Elia Martell and had 2 children with her, because he was trying, it's in the books. They don't even do anything with this fact in the series. But Rhaegar was born when, oh god, I forgot the name. I forgot the name of the keep, but it's the castle where the Lannisters were held up, where Arya was a prisoner with, I think it's Hot Pie. Is his name. The little fat baker kid that, like, Arya's best friends with. And Gendry. Like, that whole place went up in flames when Rhaegar was born. And so Rhaegar has always had this mysterious aura about him where, like Jon Snow, like, his personality and how he acts is exactly how Rhaegar acted. Like, Rhaegar did not like war. He did not like fighting. He didn't want power. He was just, yeah. Like, he didn't want to rule. He was just a man of the people. And that's why everybody loved him and wanted him to become king. And he was in love with Lyanna, he didn't kidnap Lyanna, but that's the story that everyone knows or thinks happened. But he whisked her away back to Dorne. They married, they fucked, and then they had Jon. So Jon technically is the union of fire and ice. Targaryen, like House Targaryen and House Stark. Like fire and blood is the fucking the saying of House Targaryen, and winter is coming is the saying for House Stark. And and I believe the last time those two houses united was like centuries ago. Or I don't even think the Targaryens and the Starks have actually married. So like this is the first union of those two houses, and it produced Jon. And in the books, we find out that Rhaegar was dealing with, like, there's a comet in the prophecy. Like there's a special comet that comes every few decades or centuries or whatever. And so Rhaegar tried impregnating Elia Martell during this comet because he was like, that's part of the prophecy. If this child is conceived under that comet, my child will be the it's not book spoilers. This stuff happens. This happens before the book, like before the book series even takes place. It's just Rhaegar was into the whole prophecy. So he was trying to become the guy whose son or daughter would become the prince that was promised. And Jon, like the theory now is Jon actually is the hero or the prince that was promised. And it makes sense. Like Jon has been doing things that a lot of people can't say that they've done. Sten's probably busy. It happens. But yeah. Like I'm kind of miffed that Bran hasn't talked about any of the shit that he's seen with Arya and Sansa. I think I still hate Sansa to this day. Since season 1, I've always hated Sansa. I hated Sansa in the books. Arya is just kind of grating on me. Like she's not doing anything except for being a little cunt. Like, ooh, look at me. I may kill you or not. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And it's like, okay, Sansa, you can get off your fucking high horse. We all know that you're this evil, or not even evil, but this like aloof, like expert assassin now. You don't need to be bragging and showing it off. Like she did that with Brienne of Tarth and all that. Yeah, like I've told Sten, like, hey, spoilers and stuff every time shit happens on Game of Thrones, and he's like, I don't really give a fuck about this. The only way you can change the color of your username is if I make you a moderator. The reason why Sten's name is blue with a little wrench on it is because I made him my moderator because he's practically the only one that's consistently gone on here. At least I know mine's yellow with a crown next to it. Hang on. Fucking Christ, Google chat. Live chat. I cannot. That's the problem with Google. Why the fuck are you not letting me type? Wow. I can't even type in my own fucking chat. This is an outrage. This is an absolute outrage. I should be able to actively talk and type in my chats. And you're not allowing me to. For shame, Google. For shame. But yeah, like I'm not liking the storyline with Bran. I'm not liking the storyline with Sansa and Arya. And the only thing that's interesting right now is, you know, the fucking fact that Jon is doing the only in Jon Snow's story has always been the most interesting storyline because it deals with the fantastical elements of the series. Like that's the insane thing about it. Like everything else is dry medieval shit. Like you got the political intrigue and you got the cool like medieval war shit and stuff like that. But like then you got Jon Snow like guarding a 300-foot tall, like 500-mile wide ice wall where there's barbarians and giants and fucking all kinds of crazy shit. And then there's zombies and these weird magical undead creatures with ice fighters. See, well, that's the thing. That's the thing, Sten. I click off the chat, and then I'll click back onto the box, and it won't do anything. Like, it won't even load the emojis for me. So, I can't type in my own chat. Oh, well. Ay vey. Okay. There we go. Now it worked. I popped it out. But yeah. I got a crown. My shit's fucking yellow. Also, when it comes to my lore, I'm having trouble with my lore for multiple reasons, like fucking always. But the big thing right now is, one, I haven't been doing the map. I haven't been working on the map. I didn't go to work all day today. I just slept in all day. So I haven't been doing it. But I was looking at my notes because there's three factions of elves. There's the Mirin, which are gray elves. They're the standard. I wouldn't even say they're the standard elves. They're more Tolkien elves, I guess. They're like the Noldor, if I could make an analogy for them, because I love the Noldor. They're my favorite elves. But they're very open-minded. They're all about doing the right thing. They're kind, carefree, that sort of thing. Like personality-wise, they're also really gifted and really skilled, and they're immortal because elves in my campaign setting are immortal. The Killiorn are the stereotypical elves. They branched off of the Mirin, and they're kind of like high elves, and not even high elves in like stature or status, but more high elves in like attitude. Like they find themselves superior to dwarves and men and halflings and gnomes and all other sentient life. They're arrogant. Like, they have reason to be arrogant in some regards. They're more warlike than the Miaren. Like, the Miaren are warlike, don't get me wrong. Like, if they have to fight, they'll defend their homelands. But the fucking Kiliorn are all about war. Like, they're always training their younger generations to fight. They're always constantly honing and keeping their martial skills at peak efficiency. Like, they're always doing patrols and maneuvers and defensive things. They're always prepared to fight. And then you have the exiles. And the exiles are the ones who, because it's a little murky in my fucking notes, but the exiles live next. The exiles are a group of the Miaren, and they just live like a couple 100 miles away from the Miaren to the north, and they just live secludedly. And they came about during the Blood Feud. Now, the problem here is, I don't know if they're exiled because they sided in the Blood Feud with like the younger generations, which started the whole Blood Feud, where they're like, let's kill the humans. We should take over the Middle Kingdoms. If they exiled themselves because of what happened during the Blood Feud or what. I don't know why they're exiles. I don't. They're just called the exiles. They live up in the northern woodland areas near Oakhurst and the Drakmoors, which is the dreaded swamplands, and that's it. That's it. That's all I know about them in my own fucking lore. And then you have the Dark Elves, which are basically the followers of Therisden that sparked the Blood Feud and were cursed by Quinenta, the elven god. Basically, Quinenta is the elvish name I put for Corellon Lorethian, the D&D god of elves. And so they fled into the Underdark, because that's where most of Therisden's forces reside. But like, when it comes to the high elves and the gray elves, I don't really have an explanation for why they split, because they split during the First Age. Like, it happened before the battle against the Shadow. Like, hang on, because I gotta grab my notebook. I believe, yeah, these elves began to appear en masse during the century leading up to the Maithden Igwath, the battle against the Shadow. So, like, the First Age is the shortest of the ages. It's only like I think it's like 1,000 and like, I think it's 10.5 centuries. That's how, like, 1,050 years, like, give or take, around that time, or maybe it's 11 centuries before the First Age ended. Then I think it's the Second Age is like, oh, piss and vinegar. Give me a second. I gotta grab another notebook that's sitting over here, because I got it somewhere. Okay, no. All right, I was horribly mistaken. The First Age lasts from year 1 to 2001. Second Age is year 2002 to 4877. Years 4878 to 8067 is the Third Age. Year 8068 to 12464 is the Fourth Age. The Fifth Age is 12465 to 14635. And then the Sixth Age is 14636 to 29270. So the First Age is 2,000 years. The Third Age is almost 2,900 years. The Third Age is
almost 3,200. The fourth age is almost 4,400. The fifth age is 2,200 almost, and then the sixth age is almost 15,000. Because the sixth age is basically the sixth age is when Ragnarok happens. So it's basically the length of every other age preceding it. And basically, it's why I have on dates and stuff in my notebooks and in my the books I'm writing, like the little lore compendiums and lexicons and shit like that. I have FAR, SAR, and THAR because there's two timelines there's two calendars in my campaign setting. There's the elven calendars, which follow the actual years. And then you have every other race that follows the ages. So you have first age reckoning, second age reckoning, third age reckoning, fourth age reckoning, so on and so forth. So when the second age happens, that's the first year of the second age is year one of the second age reckoning. But to the elves, it would be year 2002. So I got that fucking complicated hoo-ha going on too. But I have two factions of elves, and they're kind of different from each other. Like the Killiorn are vastly different to the Grey Elves. Ugh. Fucking Scooby snack. Ugh. But I don't know how they came about. They just exist. So I'm gonna have to find out. I'm gonna have to try and look through all my books and see if there's actually an explanation for them. And if not, I'm gonna have to find a fucking way to explain them. And then I'm gonna have to try and figure out, because I have an explanation for why dark elves exist. Dark elves don't exist until the third age, so that means fucking almost 5,000 years since elves have been around, dark elves finally show up. So it's why I'm thankful that I can say, if someone's like, hey, host the second age campaign, I can be like, good, no drow. Well, it is combat style, but it's also appearance. Their language is different. Their mindset is totally different. They don't worship the rest of the gods. They only worship the elven god. So I don't know if I was when I was writing down this lore years ago, back in middle school / high school, I was like, oh, it's an ideological schism happened. But then that doesn't explain how it's like Christianity. You've got the Eastern and Western, or you have the Western Christianity and then you have the Eastern Orthodox. They're two different religious ideologies and they have different cultures, but by and large, they don't look like the Europeans do not look vastly different. I think it's the Killiorn elves are more in line with Norse elves than the Grey elves are. And Norse elves are kind of evil, dickish pricks. They're all about cursing you, and they're great smiths. If I remember correctly, it's where Tolkien got dwarves. Because I don't even believe the Norse really had dwarves that smithed and shit. I have a book on Norse mythology. I could just probably open that up. Give me a second. A being from Germanic mythology and folklore. A person or animal with dwarfism. Dwarf mythology, please. The Rowclaws dwarf. In Germanic mythology, a dwarf is an entity that dwells in the mountain and in the earth and is variously associated with wisdom, smithing, mining, and crafting. Dwarves are often described as short and ugly, although some scholars have questioned whether this is a latter development stemming from comic portrayals of the beings. Dwarfs, because there's a difference, dwarfs continue to be depicted in popular culture in a variety of media. The modern English noun dwarf descends from the Old English dwerg. It has a variety of cognates in other Germanic languages, including Old Norse dverg and Old High German twerg. According to Vladimir Orel, the English noun and its cognates ultimately descend from Proto-Germanic. Beyond the Proto-Germanic Norse mythology provides different mythical origins for the beings, as recorded in the poetic Edda, or Edda, compiled in the 13th century, and the Prose Edda. The dwarves were the product of the primordial blood of the being Brimir and the bones of Blaine, generally considered to be different names for the primordial being Ymir. The Prose Edda, or Edda, however, describes dwarfs as being similar to maggots that festered in the flesh of Ymir before being gifted with reason by the gods. The poetic Edda and Prose Edda contain over 100 dwarf names, while the Prose Edda gives the four dwarfs Narori, Sori, Ostri, and Vestri. The Old Norse for north, south, east, and west. Cosmological role, they hold up the sky. In addition, scholars have noted that the Svartalfa, Old Norse black elves, appear to be the same beings as dwarfs, given that both are described in the Prose Edda as the denizens of Svartalfamir. Very few beings explicitly identifiable as dwarfs appear in the poetic Edda and Prose Edda, and they have quite diverse roles. Murderous creators who create the mead of poetry, reluctant donors, quote unquote, of important artifacts with magical qualities, or sexual predators who lust after goddesses. They are primarily associated with metalsmithing and also with death, as the story of King Sveigor in the Ynglinga saga, the first segment of the Heimskringla. The doorways in the mountain they guard may be regarded as doors between worlds. One dwarf, Alvis, claimed the hands of Thor's daughter in marriage, but he was kept talking until daybreak and turned to stone, much like some accounts of trolls. Hoi. Basically, black elves, quote unquote, are the Killiorn. They're not hideous. They're elves, but they're more. It's tough. They're like Norse elves, but they're also like, I believe, Irish elves. It's either Irish or Saxon elves or Germanic elves, where the Germanic elves were described as being forest sprites that they're like sirens. Give me a second, because where is it? It's a type of siren from actual mythology. And basically it's an elf. Load up the page, please. It's not a nymph. Okay. Elfhosh. That's what it is. Okay. Let's see if it'll copy pasta into the chat so you guys know. Elves Hill. It's a fairy tale based off of a Danish, the Danish name of a Scandinavian ballad. Basically, if I remember correctly from the story, a prince gets fucking he basically gets sirened. It's an elf, and chat. Hopefully, chat works. Nope, chat's not working. Great, but basically, there's an elf that oh fuck me. There's a prince. He's traveling around, and he comes across the elf mound. And if I remember correctly, in that story, there's an elf that's like the elf in that story is a maiden that's a siren, and she tries to trick him so that she can marry him or something like that, or kill him, and he's able to basically trick her, and he's able to escape. I'm not sure if I'm fucking up if I'm confusing the two together or not, because I know there's another one where it's about fucking goblins and elves. Like there's just a lot. Yeah, Elfhoj. The narrator, an attractive young man, falls asleep beside an elf mound. Some women, usually elf maidens, then attempt to woo the narrator, singing so beautifully that the natural world responds. The stream stops flowing, fish dance for joy, etc., depending on the variant. The narrator, however, resists their blandishments, grasping his sword, usually in silence. The man is most often rescued by the crowing of a cock awaking him, though in the Danish A version from the mid-16th century, he is saved by the advice of his sister, who, previously enchanted, is one of the elf maidens. The ballad usually ends with moralizing advice to the listeners. The narrative elements. Young man introduces himself. Young man resting head on Elf Hill, approached by elf maidens. They waken him and invite him to dance. One elf sits on a golden chair. She sings the most beautiful song, enchanting all around her, affecting the stream and the fish, the birds, the wild animals. They invite him to stay with them, offering inducements. He sits by while the dancing continues, refusing to interact. The elves threaten to kill him if he does not stay with them. A maiden brings him a drink, advising him not to partake. He obeys, offering to rescue her from the elves. She tells him that it is impossible. He says God has come to help him by sending the dawn to waken the cockerel. Otherwise, he would have ended up in the mountain with the elves. Advice to young men not to linger by an elf hill. That's the moral of the story. Don't sleep on a hill, especially an elf hill. Even though I don't know, like the difference between a fucking hill and an elf hill, but back in the Middle Ages, you got me. Middle Ages, you got me. But basically, that's kind of how the Killiorn are. They're like fucking sprites. They're like sprites and like they're fucking woodland spirits, but they're also like malicious to a degree. And so most of the known world does not travel into their lands because 9 times out of 10 you will not come back. My character from D&D was actually he was actually the grandson of one of them by blood. So my character has 3 noble houses under his belt. The line of Ulrich, which is his father's lineage. Basden Eagle Eye, which is one of the other characters I played. He's David Bowie in looks and appearance and attitude. He's an elf of the Mirren and one of the lords of the tribunal. That's his paternal grandfather. And then Basden's, oh god, I think, is it Basden's? No, Basden's wife is of the line of Ulrich. I can't remember where the fucking lineage goes for the Killiorn when it comes to Syrian's bloodline, but he's basically a prince of the Killiorn, a prince of the Mirren, and king of the line of Ulrich. And my character was whisked away to their domain to keep him protected because they're warlike, and so they were pretty much during the War of the War of Powers, or the Great War. They were able to pretty much hold their own territory without really that much loss. The rest of the world was pretty much getting fucked, though. So that's where Syrian was trained by, I think it's Auditor, the War Master. Basically, he's a fucking famed and revered weapons master. And basically, he taught him how to use a sword, shield, bows, spears, every weapon that he could feasibly fucking use. Trained him for like a decade and a half, 2 decades, and then once he passed his tests, he was like, "There you go. You're now one of my brightest and fucking best pupils." And so that's when my character started playing. I had just finished being trained by the Killiorn, and I took a bunch of Killiorn elves with me across the mountains so I could start play. And that's when I got attacked in Battle of the Rivers, and I got shot 3 fucking times and fell into the river. That's the thing I like about D&D. Fluff does not work well with crunch. Like, my character was, I guess, a badass at that point, and I was immediately plucked off by 3 arrows and just completely thrown into the river. But it happens. So I'm gonna probably have to, because I gotta go to work tomorrow. I can't miss another day of work because I need as much money as I can before the move. Because I'm gonna have all my furniture ordered Thursday or Friday. The tenants are leaving Friday. So, like, basically, the tenants are leaving Friday, and the landlord is leaving for Portugal. So Friday is probably going to be the only opening I have to go to the apartment and check it out. And that's where I'm going to get the keys for the apartment. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to measure the rooms and shit like that, so I know what I can order and what I can't. And I'll be ordering my bed, dresser, computer desk, nightstands, whatever I can fit in my bedroom. And then whatever's left that I can't fucking order, I'll just not use. But I'm just going to grab as much of my furniture as I can and order that up. And then whatever money is left over for the budget, I'm going to be ordering like plates, glasses, mugs, flatware, fucking pot holders, pots and pans, shit like that. So by the week I move in, all my furniture should be here so I can load it onto the truck and move. Because I have one of my friends helping me because he has a truck, so we're just gonna load all my shit onto the truck. All the utensils and silverware and shit that I ordered, if I have that money up front, that's all gonna be loaded on, and just go to the apartment, fucking carry it all up. It's all in boxes. It's not like the fucking furniture is already pre-built. That's why I'm ordering from IKEA, because I can just put it all together myself. Go put it in the room, fucking take it apart, and build it right then and there. I'll have my whole bedroom set. I already have plenty of I have enough clothes to last me a whole year. I have fucking bed sheets that fit the size bed I'm going to be ordering. I have fucking pillowcases. I could probably stand to buy some new pillows because I've had the same pillows for like 2 years now. Plus, like, there's a big deal. There's a big sale right now for the IKEA I'm ordering from because it's from Massachusetts. Basically, it's I think it's 25 or 50 bucks off the mattress, which you might be thinking like, oh, that's not a lot. Like, mattress I'm ordering is like 300 bucks. So 20 bucks, 50 bucks off is pretty fucking good. That means like that 50, 20, just that 20 bucks alone. Hang on. Because I gotta move all my fucking change out of my pocket that I put on the desk. Just that 20 bucks alone, if my calculations are right, that 20 bucks alone would buy me all my fucking glassware. So I wouldn't have to dump another 20 bucks in. 50 bucks, I could buy fucking my 36-piece dinnerware set and still have 10 bucks left over. So I could buy fucking my set of 12 glasses, my small 12-pack set of glasses, or I could buy a couple pots and pans. Like it's shit that, like, it's a good deal, basically. I'd be saving money and I wouldn't have to spend more money on what I need. But yeah, I gotta check to see if my bedroom has a window or not, because I don't know. If it does, then I'm gonna have to buy a fucking curtain rod with curtains and fucking probably blinds. Then I'm gonna have to figure out where I'm gonna put, like, just all that shit, like where I'm gonna move things, where I'm not. I still don't know if I'm gonna go for a queen size bed or a full size bed. Like, there's not really a big, huge difference between full size and queen size for me. It's only like, I think, 3 extra inches widthwise and like an inch and a half lengthwise. So I don't know. I'm probably going to go for a full-size bed because I know one of my favorite sets of sheets is a full. It's a fucking set of Egyptian cotton. Oh, it's so fucking comfy. It's like laying on a fucking... It's like being wrapped by a cloud. It's either Egyptian cotton or silk. I forget which. It looks like silk, for God's sakes. But, yeah. Oh God, I hope Chris isn't going into work tomorrow. I don't even know what we did today. I should message Ricky. God damn it! I got 2 things in my fucking. I got 2 new items in my inventory on Steam. What the fuck? Murder of Crows and Stalking Wolf. Is this okay? Those are from the Long Dark. Why do I have Long Dark cards now? Does the Long Dark now have cards? Jesus Christ, I keep getting shit thrown at me in this goddamn fucking thing. Okay, and apparently I got 2 sets of backgrounds, so I'll just turn that into gems. Fuck it. I got doubles. I got doubles of shit, and I don't need it. Ay, ay, ay. I also apparently got 4 FTL cards, and I don't remember that. Also, if anybody wants my 50% off Dawn of War 3 coupon, I'll gladly give it to you. I will gladly give that to somebody because I am not buying Dawn of War 3. I heard it sucks. I'm depressed that it sucks. So. Yeah. I just randomly got it and it expires in like a week. It expires on the 31st. Wait, Soda Dungeon has fucking cards too? Who's sending me a... Oh, no. Somebody sent me a video. Oh, God. Let's see. I gotta check Soda Like, yeah, fucking Soda Dungeon doesn't even have a goddamn fucking badge thing on here. So why does Soda Dungeon have cards if you can't make badges out of it? I still need to get that one task for the community ambassador thing where it's use the mobile Steam mobile app for a 2-factor authentication. That's it. Authentication, not authentication. So I don't know what I'm going to get for completing that, but yeah. I'll have to see what I might play a game in a little bit. Okay, now it's marked as red. I shouldn't. You know what? Maybe I should install fucking Morrowind because I bought that. Play that for a little bit, or I could, finish playing Dragonborn on Skyrim and finally get the rest of those achievements. Like, there's not much left that I need to do. I need to complete everything in the fucking Dragonborn DLC. I need to adopt a child. I need to... oh, Christ, what else do I need? I need to get... I need to escape from jail. I need to get 1,000 gold bounty in all 9 holds, which shouldn't be too difficult. I think it's 9 holds. I forget how many holds there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 holds. Let's see. Elder Scrolls, Skyrim. I need to get all the Daedric artifacts. I need to do the Dark Brotherhood campaign or quest line because I never do the Dark Brotherhood. I could probably do that and fucking... I'll just do a Let's Play or another playthrough where I just do that. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Did it. I'm done. Craft an item out of Stall Rim. That's not going to be that bad. Tame and ride 5 dragons. Not going to be tough to do that. Learn the secrets of 5 black books. Not going to be bad for that. Learn all 3 words of dragon aspect. Again, not going to be bad to do that one. Like, there's barely anything else, and then I can get 100% completion on Skyrim, and then I can just stop playing Skyrim. And then I'll do Morrowind, because I've been wanting to do. I've been wanting to play Morrowind for fucking ages. I'm honestly surprised I didn't buy it last time. I was on a fucking binge buying shit. Oh. I got a message on Facebook that I did not know about. Boy, that's a nice message to come to. Let's see. See, now, I'm not sure. Now, Sten, I don't know if you do the same thing that I do. I don't know where it began. I don't know how I started doing this. When I play an Elder Scrolls game, and I've never played Arena and I've never played Daggerfall. I've watched people play it, and I've seen people do playthroughs of it, but I've never actually played them. But when I've played Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, and I don't know where this began. I think it was just my first character, or it might have been after my first experimenting, because I had never played an Elder Scrolls game, so I just was fucking about in Morrowind. But I play the races of that province every time. And I remember when I first played Morrowind, I chose a Nord, because I was like, oh, they have longsword, and they have short sword and axes, and they got all the weapons on here, and they get a bonus to them, so I'm going to use those. And then I was woefully just a wanton murderer. I just murdered everybody and anything. And I just went about everything. I barely did any quests. I just killed and slaughtered everyone that came at me. I amassed such a high amount of gold for a bounty, there was no way I could pay it off. And so I was just going to be killed instantly. And I said, fuck this. So I went through the whole, and I had it for the Xbox. I didn't have it for PC. So this is the first time I actually have it for the PC. But for some reason, I started looking at the characters, and I was like, well, there's a lot of Dark Elves here. Maybe I should just play a Dark Elf. And then I started looking at their stats, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty nice. And then, I noticed that people were talking to me more openly, and they weren't as racist. So I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. So if I play as a Dark Elf, because I'm in the continent that has Dark Elves, they're not going to be racist to me. Cool. And so I just started playing as a Dark Elf. And so every time I would play Morrowind, I would play a Dark Elf. And then when Oblivion came out, and it's set in Cyrodiil, and that's where the Imperials live, I played as an Imperial. And then when Skyrim came out, I've always played a Nord. I've gotten complaints from some friends being like, oh, you should fucking change. You stop being such a fucking prick and play someone else. Stop being so bland. But it's like, if I'm playing in a province where that race is the norm, I'm going to play the norm. Plus, it makes sense to me. In a plot sense. Plot sense, it makes sense. In Morrowind, you're a prisoner being sent to Vardenfell. Why would you be sent to Vardenfell? Why would you be sent to Morrowind if you're not a Dark Elf? like Azura, the Daedric prince that the Dark Elves worship and love, talks to you personally. You are the Neverine. The Neverine was a Dark Elf like lord and leader. So it would make sense that you are the embodiment and the actual reincarnation of a Dark Elf prince, lord, leader, whatever, if you yourself was a Dark Elf. Plus, it makes sense that Azura is talking to you because you're a Dark Elf. I've never seen Azura talk to other people in like the lore of Elder Scrolls unless it's the player character. Like, it makes sense in Oblivion for you to be an Imperial because you're in the Imperial city in prison. And I don't even remember if there's any other of the races other than Imperials in that prison. So it would make sense that you're, you know, an Imperial. And then in Skyrim, like, you are trying to cross the border out of Skyrim, which would mean that you were probably a Nord. So it makes sense. It just makes sense. Plus, like, I just like for Skyrim, I like my character's backstory. My character was fucking trying to steal horses to flee the fucking, like, I honestly think my explanation for why your character was grabbed. Well, that's the thing. Like, the Emperor is sending you there, but you've been a prisoner all your, like, you were born a prisoner, if I remember correctly, from the fucking, like, because if I remember correctly, like, Azura is saying that you were born a prisoner, and you've been a prisoner all your life. And if I remember correctly, like, the Emperor kind of a racist. Like, Uriel Septim, I think the 7th or 8th. Well, I know that, but for me, like, that's how I see it. Like, I feel like everybody should at least try and play, like, the race that's, like, the race of that province just at least once. Like, I don't know what the next Elder Scrolls game is set in. Like, people have been saying it's either Black Marsh or Valenwood. So, if they do Black Marsh, I'll be playing Argonians. And I despise the Argonians, but I'll play an Argonian since it's the Argonian province. If it's Valenwood, I'll play a Wood Elf. I kind of think they should do the Somerset Isles so we can see more of the, like, we've never seen the High Elves. We've never seen anything about the High Elves. We know very little about the High Elves and how their race and culture and their world, like, their province looks. Plus, you can do more about the Thalmor. Set it in the province where the Thalmor have power. And I would play a High Elf, aka Jaundice Elves, because they look like they have fucking jaundice in all the Skyrim and all the Elder Scrolls games. They just look hideous. In fact, the first Wood Elf you see in Morrowind, I thought he was a fish person. Because his hair, like, the models do not look that good. They have not aged well. Like, I understand it's one of the first big open world RPGs with 3D graphics and shit, and there's got a lot in it. Like, I have respect for Morrowind, and I really enjoy Morrowind, but we gotta be honest, the original models look absolutely disgusting and awful. Especially the hair. The hair and the heads, there's a very few models for the heads, and the hair is just absolutely atrocious. So when I first saw that Wood Elf and he wants his little magic fucking ring that I think allows you to breathe underwater, or you can water walk or some shit like that, like, I thought he was a fish person because like, he has bulbous black eyes, he has weird fucking hair, and it wrapped around his neck and it made him look like he had gills. And he's like, hey, I want my water-breathing ring back. And I'm like, oh, okay, so he's kind of an amphibious being, and he can't go back into the water. Okay. So I grabbed the ring from the barrel or or wherever the fuck it is. I think it's inside of a tree, like a rotted-out tree trunk, or it's in a barrel or something like that, and I gave it to him. And, like, I'd say, I think it was, like, a couple days later when I was playing the game again, and I was just fucking about in Balmora and the other places. I'm like, wait, that's a wood elf? Oh, Jesus, I thought they were fish people. Like, now they've completely changed it, so the wood elves have, like, tan, olive skin with blood red eyes, and they're cannibals, and they live in trees that, like, the tree cities actually move because the trees are sentient. Like, if, like, I want it to either be in... I want the next the next Elder Scrolls game... I can't believe I keep saying Skyrim. I want the next Elder Scrolls game to either be in Somerset Isles or elsewhere. Give us the province of the High Elves or the province of the Khajiit. Because the province of the Khajiit is badass because it's just basically deserts. It's basically like Egypt. Culturally wise, it's like Egypt. There's bazaars, there's pyramids and ruins and mummies and all kinds of stuff. Stuff we haven't seen. I'm okay with... I'm like, Morrowind and to a lesser extent Skyrim are kind of unique. Oblivion was fantasy Europe. Morrowind had giant flea silt striders, and it had fucking cliff racers. And it had like the weird, like, Morrowind was just alien. You had the netches that are basically like weird jelly octopi that just float around and move. They're like cattle. Silt striders are these giant fucking tick/fleas that have their nerve endings sticking out because people just shell out their like carapace, and you sit inside and you just yank the fucking nerve endings to make their legs move and control them. You have the weird ancestral vampirism shit that the Dark Elves have. It's very fucking alien and unique, and I love it. And all the creatures are bizarre. And then you have Oblivion, which is fantasy Europe. You have minotaurs and skeletons and goblins and fucking normal. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a beholder appeared because it's just fantasy D&D Europe. And then Skyrim's kind of better, kind of. Like, you got some still normal shit in it, like werewolves and fucking deer, and you have zombies or Droger and skeletons. You have mud crabs, which just look like crabs now. They don't look like giant rocks or pieces of shit like fucking Morrowind had. You don't know how many times I got attacked and nearly died from mud crabs in Morrowind because I didn't know what the fuck was hitting me. But you don't have the weird, like, Kuat egg things, like the weird Kuat scuttler maggot things that would jump around and fucking attack you, or the ones that are like these giant quadruped creatures that have the maggot inside of them with weird antennas. Like, there's just some weird, creepy fucking shit in that game. But like, you don't have that. You got gargoyles, which explode into gems and rare ore when you kill them. You have werewolves, vampires, skeletons, zombies, necromancers, mostly human NPCs. Then you have the Daedra, which has been in every single Elder Scrolls game. And then you have dragons. Like, that's the biggest thing Skyrim that Skyrim can claim. We have dragons. You can fight dragons. That's about it. Like, it's got some Norse themes to it, but not like they didn't go balls to the walls with the Norse stuff. Because when you go to Solitude isn't really Norse. That's more fantasy Europe. That's more of a European fucking castle. Like, it's got a windmill and it's got all kinds of fucking European battlements and stuff. Like, fucking Windhelm's kind of Norse looking, but not really. Riften doesn't look Norse at all, like Nordic at all. Falkreath, I'd say Falkreath and Windhelm and Dawnstar and fucking no, not Windhelm. Whiterun, Dawnstar, Falkreath, Morthal. I wouldn't even say more. I wouldn't even say that. I would honestly say Whiterun is the only Norse one. Like, Dragon's Reach looks like a Nord mead hall. like the Jorvaskr, which is where the companions live, is a mead hall. Dawnstar, Morthal, Falkreath, and oh god, I forget the fucking name of the city that sank. Half the city sank away. Oh fuck me, I can't remember. Basically, that one. Like they're all little fucking villages. They're all little villages with thatched roof cottages. Rorikstead is as big, if not a little smaller, than those other four holds. And then you have Markarth, and Markarth is just like a dwarven city. Like they didn't go full balls to the walls, alien or foreign or different, in a sense. Plus, everything's just kind of drab. Like the colors are kind of like desaturated because now in this day and age, everything needs to be desaturated for reasons. So it's just weird. So yeah, like I kind of want Elsewhere or Somerset Isles because that would be alien. Places we've never been to. Like I've yet to see a game where you have mummies. Like it'd be pretty cool to go into a pyramid, like a really confined pyramid tunnels and shit like that, and have mummies crawling out of crypts and stuff or out of the sand, like they describe in the lore. Like I'd like to see the Khajiit in their homeland so that they're not the fucking the gypsy analogs that they are. It'd be pretty badass to travel across roaming fucking deserts. Yeah, the Isles of Worms. That'd be pretty badass. Do it on another continent. Akaviri, Atmora. I forgot the name of the islands that the Neverine went to, but the Neverine, also that's another thing that people forget about is like the main character from Morrowind is immortal. He's godlike now. Because he went to islands to the west of Tamriel. He left, I think it was like a couple of years before Oblivion takes place, because they mention him in Oblivion. And I think they mentioned him in Skyrim in the book, in one of their books, where it's like, yeah, the Neverine did all this shit, and then he left, and then fucking, Gia became a saint by killing all the cliff racers in Vardenfell, because fuck cliff racers. And then Red Mountain just exploded. And the Neverine left. I'm hoping they don't do what Skyrim did with the time jump or time skip. I hope they actually do confirm which side won the Civil War in Skyrim, even though I know it's going to piss off me or the rest of the fandom. I honestly think the Imperials should win. So, yeah. But, yeah, I'm going to head off now. It's 9:30. It gives me about an hour and a half to just eat something before I go to bed so I can wake up early so I can go to work on time. I'm going to try and fucking get my mood back up so I'm not being a cantankerous asshole. But thank you, Stan, for coming and hearing me ramble. I'm probably gonna install Morrowind tonight. I'll probably try and play it tomorrow. Thank you, Queen, for stopping by. You kind of went silent there. Because you said be right back and you never came back, so I don't know if you came back or not. But I hope you have a fantastic night as well. And yeah, anybody else who listened, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. I don't know, like my videos, fucking read blog, tweet, fucking share them. I don't know. I don't really care. Yeah. You all have a fantastic night now.